Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Heather Tiedemann and this is my husband,
Jonathan Tiedemann.
And we are with the Lexington Group and Realtors down here in the Columbia, Lexington area of South Carolina. And today we're going to be talking about his experience moving to South Carolina because he is originally from New York. But before we get started with that, you know what I'm going to ask, that you please like and subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. I have a goal of 550 subscribers for 2025, so I really appreciate all the love and support. So let's hop on into this. Okay, so when we're first getting started with this, go ahead and tell them when you moved here, how old you were, and where you moved from and to.
Okay, so I was 14 when my parents told me we were moving to South Carolina. I lived in Rocky Point, New York, and we moved to Sally, South Carolina. It was 2004.
Okay, so about 21 years ago. And for those that don't know about Sally, it is right next to Wagner.
That helps clear it up tremendously. Oh, Wagner, got
you. Which is also just outside of Aiken. So it is a very small town. Wagner is a very small town with only one traffic light and a Piggly Wiggly. Sally's even smaller than that, to kind of give you some insight there. So now that they have an understanding that you've been here for 21 years, so you've seen a lot of different changes, and you move from a very populated area to a very small town and then to a larger town of Lexington. Kind of give you some insight on the differences that he saw.
Yeah, well, could I elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure.
So,
I mean, I was going to ask you some questions, but you know.
Okay, we'll get to it.
No, go ahead.
So where I came from in New York would have been considered a smaller community. So my graduating class was about 384-ish in New York. And then down here, it was about 78,
about
82,
50.
Yeah.
About 50 people.
So to put it on a scale, so I wasn't in a big school. Like my school wasn't PS whatever. It was Rocky Point High School, so.
Okay. So a relatively medium-sized to large-sized town for South Carolina, but for New York, it was definitely considered more of a small town. Okay. Makes sense. All right, so you moved here when you were a teenager. What were your first thoughts when you arrived in South Carolina?
What the hell? It was crazy because not only was it a different amount of people, a different style of schooling. Like we had a big 2-story building that had elevators, and coming here there was just like one building. Actually, it was 3 buildings. And they were separated from each other, that you had to like walk outside to go to them. And then the culture was completely different. So
we'll touch on that a little bit later.
Okay. So did I answer your question?
I was more so talking about South Carolina in general and not about the schools, but yeah.
South Carolina in general, also same. Literally same. I was used to seeing big buildings, tall buildings, moving to more rural areas with cotton fields and trees for miles.
Okay. And was it what you were expecting, or was it any surprises?
Oh, there were a ton of surprises. Absolutely. But for the most part, just the landscape and everything like that, I had visited a few times, so I knew what to expect when I got here.
Okay. And how does the pace of life compare between New York and South Carolina?
It's painful.
Is it?
It is painfully slow. That was one of the biggest things I had noticed down here. So when I had joined the workforce, when I was 15 years old, I started working at Piggly Wiggly, and I had noticed that like people just don't go. So when you see someone stocking a shelf, like people just wait for them to finish stocking the shelf, which was crazy to me because in New York, the customer would have immediately just started yelling at you to move because they had to buy something. And honestly, if you didn't move, you were kind of a jerk. You should have get out of the way. Like the pace is very quick. So if people go to a restaurant in New York, everyone stands in the back, they wait, pick out what they want, and they don't get into line until they can repeat it like that. Because when you step up, they say, what do you have, and then they record it, send it back. But if you get up there and you're like, oh, I don't know, what does your number 2 come with? Like at some point, the teller's going to start yelling at you, telling you to move, figure out what you want before you get in line. So definitely a lot of changes down here.
Okay, and when you're comparing that to... So I know we're talking a little bit more about when you first moved here, but now that you're an adult, how does that that change of pace, really?
The change of pace really is welcomed. I've actually prefer to work at this pace. I don't have to rush through things. Not everything has to go a million miles an hour. I can sit and enjoy the work that I do and take time and talk to people, sit and have a YouTube conversation. And it transitions like that into other fields. And so I wasn't always an entrepreneur or an agent or things like that. I actually came from working 9 to 5 jobs. I was a vendor at Frito-Lay. I worked at Amazon. I was corrections officer, so very blue collar jobs.
Okay. And what is something about Southern culture that took you a while to get used to?
Talking to people. Everybody wants to talk to you at all times.
At all times.
And they genuinely care. Like, they're asking you because they want to know you. They want to know about you. And they're like, oh, how's your mom and them? And they mean that when they're like, oh, we mean Laura and all those people. Like, we know them. We want to talk to them, get to know them, invite them into our community. They're weird at first because it's like, why the hell do you care? But that's a New York mentality, and switching it to a more Southern mentality where people just are actually slowing down, it's a bit shocking.
Okay. What do you like more about living in the South compared to living in New York?
It's like being able to sit back on your plane ride or like have leg room. It's literally that same experience. It's just, would you rather be in coach and have some guy with a crying baby sitting next to you, or do you want to sit more first class and have more elbow room space to be comfortable? And
okay. Is there anything that you miss from New York?
The bagels.
I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming.
Definitely miss the bagels.
Okay.
Bagels, knishes, rainbow cookies, traditional Irish.
So
cookies.
Just food.
Yep. Yep, all just food. But if you guys are looking for a good bagel, I have a friend who makes the most amazing bagel I've ever had. And I'll hook you up.
Okay. And how would you describe the people here compared to back home?
I mean, people are people everywhere. I take them each one at a time. I wouldn't generalize them at all in any kind of capacity.
It seems, from what you've said so far, generally the people here tend to care more, at least what you've said throughout this video.
From a working pace standpoint,
yeah,
they're ready to sit and talk, but obviously you have friends in New York who are going to take that time and be more personable and look at you more of a friendship capacity, but because you have more time in the South, more people are ready to talk to you.
Okay.
It just feels like there's more time here.
Okay. And have you found it easy or hard to make friends here?
The beginning was very hard.
Yeah.
The beginning was extremely difficult.
He also isn't very nice when he first moved here either, so keep that in mind.
I didn't have a lot of friends. There was a whole lot of people to talk to in high school. So coming down here, making an adjustment, trying to figure out all of the changes that were not only moving to South Carolina, but were also transitioning into high school, was a lot to take on. Couple that with not having too many friends to talk to, it was a very difficult transition.
Okay.
Took me at least a year before I made like my first real friend.
Okay. And do you think that moving to a small town played a part in that? Or do you think if you would have moved to a larger town, that may have been different?
I do, 100%. Because we moved to such a small town from where we were, there wasn't a lot of things for me to connect with people on. I didn't do a whole lot of hunting and fishing growing up, so I didn't really have that kind of outlet or space, which is a very common thing here. So yeah, it was hard to find people that liked what I liked and did what I did. Now, having since moved to Lexington from there, that there's much more people who like what I like, who do what I do. And I find it much easier, especially because social media is more prevalent in today's day and age. When I went to high school, it wasn't.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so be honest. How do you really feel about sweet tea, grits, and boiled peanuts, and barbecue now?
Okay, so we're going to go down a list. Because you know food's the big part, right?
Yeah, food is
all the food I miss is from New York. So sweet tea. Sweet tea is fantastic. You can make it too sweet, but I do like it on occasion. I also just like cold tea in general, though. So boiled peanuts, love them. Grits, love them. Barbecue is okay. I still want to try Texas barbecue. I think it's better.
If you say so. What is your favorite Southern food that you didn't know existed before?
Grits.
You didn't know grits
I
existed?
didn't. So everyone's like, have you ever had grits before? And then as you start to realize it's a real thing, you realize it's there. But I had never looked for it. I was 14 when I moved down here, so hadn't done a whole lot of grocery shopping. It was a brand new thing when I dropped on the scene.
Okay. Are there any New York foods that you just cannot find here?
Knishes. Every once in a while, I think Publix has them, but they're not the same.
They don't taste the same.
And bagels, up until I met that one person who I told you all about. Like, Liz makes the best bagels.
Okay. And then how do you feel the cost of living compares? I think this is kind of a hard question for you to answer because, one, we're never an adult in New York. And two, the cost of living in New York in 2004 would be vastly different than the cost of living in New York in 2025 would be very different. So I think maybe I have that one on the list, but we're going to kind of bypass that one. Do you feel like you have more space or a better quality of life now?
Than when I was 14. Yeah, no, I'm making decisions for myself now. It's been fantastic. Let me tell you guys, I have a 2016 Ford C-Max. It's a little hybrid beater car. I love it. I don't want to get rid of it. It's like my favorite car ever. I met her. These are all my decisions, and they're fantastic. So yeah, my life right now, pretty good. Next question.
How did you adjust to the weather? Be real. How's the heat?
All right, first summer was tough. I'm not going to lie. I used to dress in jeans, long socks, sweatshirt. I put a towel over my neck, and I would wear a giant hat over my head to cover all of my skin from the mosquitoes. There were too many of them. We bought a house on a pond. We didn't spray. Definitely should have sprayed. I still don't think my parents spray, and I don't know how they exist in that lifestyle. It's the worst. So I would walk around all summer like 165 humidity or 165% humidity where like the water is just, I'm swimming. When you walk outside, I'd be fully dressed just to escape the mosquitoes. But that's the first summer, and obviously I was 14 and a bit of a hyperbole. They're tolerable. The humidity is a little tough to get used to, but the bugs, if not like dealt with, are a problem.
No. Let's see. What is one thing you wish you knew before moving here?
That I was moving here. It would have been great to tie some things up in New York before I moved down here.
Okay.
No, but one thing I wish I would have known would have been how to connect with the people down here through that transition prior to coming down here. Because I didn't really know what to expect. And people definitely have a way of doing things down here that's super awesome. But being a stubborn teenager, I didn't open my head up to while I was there. So I missed a lot of friends' opportunities in high school.
Okay. And would you recommend making the move to someone else? Why or why not?
Absolutely. 100%. If you're considering a move, it's because you're not happy where you're at.
Okay.
If you were happy, you wouldn't be considering a move. If you're unhappy, make a change. Whether that's moving to South Carolina, Illinois, another country, whatever it is.
Okay. And then last question. Do you say y'all naturally now? Or is it something you have to think about?
I more commonly say y'all than I do use guys.
I don't know that I've heard you say use guys in many years.
I usually say guys, but y'all does come out pretty fluent.
He has been here for 21 years. We've almost got him trained.
It's still not
I just
a
shut
buggy.
my camera. I don't call it a buggy either, if it makes you feel any better.
I got her. She's one of the good ones, guys.
So that is all that I have for you today. There were a lot more questions on this list, but this man don't shut up. So now we're at almost 15 minutes in this video.
Well, look, if you guys get 100 likes, we can do a part 2. I love talking. I'll be here again next week. You guys tell me if you want me here.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to know more about moving to the area, you can find my contact information down in the description box below. There is also a link to our moving to Lexington, moving to Irmo, and moving to Chapin Facebook groups if you want to learn more from people just like you moving to our area. But until next time, bye!
Bye!